Hello, I'm Vincent Spano, and I'm going to be doing my final Global Citizens project on Marie-Antoine Careme. And in this video, I'm just going to be explaining a little bit about him, and I'm going to actually attempt to create a very famous dessert. It's a pastry puff built into a tower called a croquembouche. And a little bit about Marie-Antoine Careme. He was born in Paris in 1783 into a large poor family, rumored to have 25 children in it. His father was a common laborer, so feeding many children was difficult. And at the young age of 10, Antoine Careme was kicked out of his home. They don't really know if he was kicked out or if he left because he was literally starving. But he actually found employment at a shelter at a cook shop where he actually learned how to cook, not necessarily learn the French cuisine and art that he learned later in life, but this was kind of a stepping stone that taught him, what it took, and kind of sparked his interest in that. And again, he found shelter here. He earned a little bit of money. And at the young age of 17, he was employed at Rue Vivienne for the Pâtissière Bali. He noticed Careme's potential. This is, again, the second place he was working. It was a little more of a high class teaching of French cuisine here. He noticed his potential, and he began to teach him the skills in order to reach the top, which he eventually made in French culinary art. He eventually became the chef of Talleyrand, who was a signer of the Treaty of Paris, and he was a famous politician. And during his service with Talleyrand, he met Alexander I, the Emperor of Russia, who entered Paris in 1814. He actually took Careme with him as his chef for just a short amount of time. He didn't, hold him hostage or say, come work for me. It was hard for me to understand, the exact meaning behind it. But as far as I know, he worked with him, and this was not the final time. But he actually went back to work with Talleyrand after. And this is the second time he worked with him in 1815. It was after the Battle of Waterloo, and he stayed working with Alexander I for his entire stay in Paris. And then in 1816, Careme served the Prince Regent at the Brighton Pavilion in the United Kingdom, so he traveled all the way to the UK. And as far as we know, this is the first time he traveled to another country. So again, in just a short 8 months, he became homesick, and he actually traveled back to France because he missed it so much. And then in 1818, he served as the chef for the British ambassador and war hero Lord Stuart in Vienna. And while serving Lord Stuart, Careme managed the large dinners and parties for Lord Stuart's friends, and on occasion, famous diplomats. They would throw these extravagant parties at their houses with all the food and dessert that you could think of, with and again, this was like fancy stuff. So what I'm about to make in the croquembouche, you're going to see that the fanciness and just like the detail that goes into these. And then Careme, he returned back to France for a second time, where he was engaged to Princess I believe it's pronounced Bagration. Then shortly after left and rejoined Lord Stuart again, and fiance is probably not too happy about that. Let's see here. But then some years later in 1823, he served Baron James de Rothschild as a chef and remained there until he became sick in 1829 and resigned. And this sickness, they believed, was from breathing in all the coal, all the stuff that comes with making food in this time in an oven, not an electric or like a gas stove. They were burning coal and wood and scooping that stuff out and breathing all that in. So they believe it to be some sort of cancer or something similar. He only lived for 4 more years, and he actually died January 12th, 1833, in his Paris home. So again, not the longest life, but nobody really lived that long back then, with all the sanitary issues, and you know, medical stuff wasn't advanced. But he was arguably the most successful and culturally innovative chef that Paris and the world has ever seen. He was accepted and envied by the world's most famous elites and politicians in Paris and all of Europe, where he stayed, you know, in Britain as well. A lot of these people, you know, came to know him as this famous French chef of cuisine, and creating all of these amazing dishes that they'd never seen before. And his cookbooks and French culinary artistic books were studied by his contemporaries. They influenced and changed the trajectory of cuisine around the world. Careme was not only in love with French cuisine, but he also enjoyed architecture, along with his culinary creations. They were inspired by them. So the croquembouche, I thought, would be a good dish to kind of, I guess, encapsulate that idea, because it's kind of built like a tower. I'm gonna hope, you know, to build it like a tower, to resemble something similar. Because I have some experience with cooking, but not so much with like pastries. I've made donuts and stuff, but that's easy. But we'll see how this goes. Hello, this is the cooking portion of my Global Citizens project video. I have to cut it into portions just because it has a lot of steps. And it takes a lot of, you know, freezing, waiting for the oven, and all you know, sorts of different things. So you're not going to notice, but I'm going to cut this just into portions, just, you know, to keep the video moving. Okay, so this is the first part, the beginning. It's basically the batter of the croquembouche. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat the oven to 425, and that's going to take a while. And then the second thing I'm going to do, in a large saucepan, I already got 2 sticks of unsalted butter. And I'm going to toss 2 cups of water into that as well. All right, and then for the next step, I just got to add the salt. It's going to be just 1 teaspoon of salt here. All right, and then I'm going to heat that up until it boils. And forgive my head is getting cut off at the top of the screen. Too tall for the counter, and the video just doesn't encapsulate everything at the same time. All right, so I'm just going to wait for this to heat up and wait for it to come to a boil. So this may take a while here. Okay, now that we brought the butter and water to a boil, I'm going to add the flour. I'm going to mix it until it's all incorporated. It looks kind of like eggs. It's a little worried at first, but now it is looking like it's supposed to, kind of like mashed potatoes. All right, looks about beaten to a pulp. So I'm going to put that back. I'm going to keep cooking it until all the moisture is evaporated. want to burn it though. Make Antoine Careme proud. Alright. Looks all done there. And now I'm going to put it into this mixing bowl. Sorry about the noise. Hopefully I didn't just shatter your eardrums. Okay. Very mushy because the butter and flour. Alright, the oven's almost preheated all the way. Alright, and I'm going to put this into the mixture. Add my attachment here. Alright, now that I have that put together the correct way, I'm going to begin to mix it. Add 1 egg at a time. Starting to stick, so I'm gonna separate it and push it down, make sure it all gets mixed up correctly. We got 3 eggs in so far and we need a total of 6. Let's start that back up. At this point, I'm going to stop it and scrape the sides off again, making sure it all gets mixed up. It's getting pretty thick here. It's looking like the right consistency. And I forgot to mention at the beginning of this video that I got this recipe from Antoine's cookbook, which is mentioned on my methods essay. So I'm going to start this up here. Starting to get a little too tall. We got 6 eggs in. It needs to be, as the book said, glossy. But it's a little difficult to, I guess, kind of figure out what he was saying based on the translations, and also, I guess, incorporating the correct way to do everything based on what he said in his cookbook. Because in a lot of his cookbook, he was talking about like over a wood fire and using some utensils that I'd never heard of. But I'm going to do my best to follow it the way that it's supposed to go. I know eggs, milk, sugar, and salt haven't changed much since then, so everything should be good. I think I'm going to start mixing that again. Add 1 more egg. Whoa! looking good. Sorry again about my height. It's hard to get everything in the shot. It's looking a little, let's see, is it a little too thick? Oh man. Looking a little thick. From in his cookbook, it says to, well, it's not really a cookbook, it's really a mentioning of the ingredients you need and, you know, how to correctly make it. It's not like the cookbooks we have nowadays where it basically spells everything out for you. Okay. I think I'm going to beat it a little bit longer. Stick in there, so I'm going to add one more egg. Start slow because this thing is going to flop around in there. Should look a little glossy, as the book says. There you go. It's starting to look a little more glossy. I'm going to push everything in. Egg yolk in there. All right, it's looking good. Push that back in. All right. One more time for a good measure. All right. Got the bucket? Oh, it's just so thick. All right, at this point of the video, after I've made the batter here, all right, so we got the batter and the 3 whisked eggs to put on top. So I'm just gonna put this into the bag the best that I can. It's gonna be a little bit messy. Let me just test this out because I got enough in there for just a little bit. There you go, that's one. Roughly equal in size. And again, if I'm doing this wrong, that is okay. Okay, now that I have the batter on the, it was parchment paper, but now it's aluminum foil. I had to change it over because the paper that I bought was wrong and can't go in the oven, but this will work just fine. So now I have the whisked eggs, and I'm gonna put that on top of the batter to kind of get the form of it corrected, kind of shape it into little balls. I'm gonna skip through this part here because it will take me a little while. Okay, this is the last step. For the batter, I'm gonna put this in the oven, 15 minutes at 425, which is, I'm guessing the right temperature based on the cookbook. And then I'm gonna reduce the temperature to 375 for 15 more minutes. Goes in there. Let's see. Set a timer. All right, so while that cooks, I'm going to start with the filling. Okay, now it is time for the filling. And I'm going to boil the 4 cups of milk with the vanilla bean that I put inside the milk. As we wait for that to come to a boil, I'm going to put the 12 egg yolks with a 1.25 cups of sugar. I'm going to get the whisk. Whisk that together so it's fluffy. While I'm waiting on the milk to boil. In the meantime, I'm changing the time, 375 for 20 more minutes. Sorry you can't see my face. All right, now that that's light and fluffy, I'm going to add the cornstarch here slowly so it doesn't clump up. Ooh. Check the milk. These are actually looking pretty good here. Keep whisking this. The farther I get into this, I realize it's quite the undertaking, and I've never baked or cooked anything so, I guess not detailed, but I guess risky. If I do one thing wrong, I feel like it's gonna ruin the whole thing. All right, that's looking good. Keep mixing that, and then when the milk's done boiling, I'm gonna set that to the side for 10 to 15 minutes. It doesn't really say how long in the book, it just says until it's infused. So, yeah, and then I'm gonna mix that into the eggs and the sugar here. Keep mixing this, and that is close to. All right, now that the water, or the milk, and the vanilla bean has been sitting for 15 minutes after boiling, and the batter's ready cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and take that out. Put it right on top here. Oh, they look better than I thought they would. Oh, different sizes and everything just to build it. After, they kind of look like biscuits a little bit. I hope I didn't mess up. All right. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna mix the milk in with the sugar and the egg yolk, a small amount at a time. Mix it in. Right. Some more. Going. Just go ahead and pour the rest of it. I think I'm going to need a bigger saucepan for this. All right. That's looking good, so I'm going to get these out of the way. These cool there. Get this out of the way. Here. Time for the big saucepan, or I guess a pot. All right. All right, now that this is all mixed in, I pour it in here until it boils. Glad I got the big one because this would not have fit. All right. So I just got to continually whisk this as it cooks until it's boiled. And then after this, I'm going to start the caramel that will make these stick together. That for just a second. All right, I'm going to keep stirring this until it thickens and is boiling. And then I'm going to take it out and I'm going to cover it with something. So I've made filling before. I know you have to cover it, and I'll probably keep it in the fridge for 2 hours so I can fill these up right here, because they should be hollow. Yep, those are hollow. Perfect. And as this cools, I'm going to work on the caramel. I think I already said that, but it's looking good. Keep whisking it. I'm going to keep whisking this. Okay, now that I've set the main portion to the side, and this is finished like a thick, creamy substance filling, gonna add the butter, mix that in, keep it away from the heat here. Mix that butter in. I'm also going to let it cool for a little so I can toss it in the fridge. That's what it looks like right here. Filling. And then these right here are what I'm going to put the filling in to set up and make the caramel. Okay, I'm going to let. Okay, now I'm going to cover the filling. I can find the plastic wrap. Okay. All right, put this in the fridge for 2 hours. I'm gonna let that sit in there for 2 hours, and then once that's done, I'm gonna start doing the caramel so I can dip these after filling them. All right, I have filled the croquembouche after leaving the filling in the fridge for 2 hours. Now the last step is the caramel. Then I'm gonna go ahead and make that. I'm gonna put the sugar in. It's 2.5 cups of sugar. I've made caramel plenty of times before, so this is definitely the easiest step. I'm gonna put, it didn't say how much water, or sugar, it just said make the caramel in the cookbook there. I'm going to go ahead and spread this, letting the sugar evenly mix. So the caramel's done, and now it is time to see if I can dip these in here and then get them set up here correctly. So let's see how this goes. Hope it doesn't fall apart, because it very well could. Oh, that's hot. It's not going to be as perfect as I'd hoped because the little pastries couldn't hold as much of the filling as I wanted to, and they kind of hollowed out on the bottom. But nevertheless, I'm going to continue doing the best that I can. So that's what filling in there. I don't know if you can see it from there, but filling's starting to come out. Hopefully this will stick. Gonna use the big ones for the bottom. Gonna try and replicate. It's looking okay. Could look better. The filling's falling into the caramel. Oh, that's hot. All right, now it is time to begin to oh, ouch. Might want to squeeze this in a little tighter. I don't know if I have enough. When I made all the batter, I think I made them a little too big. But at least this is working out well. It's falling apart. Not working out perfectly. Oh man. I'm gonna make, oh man, that one looks a little bit better. Well, looks like I'm one short. That's okay, I'll make this work. Oh, fell right in between. It's sticking together. That's good. Okay, don't fall. Please don't fall. No. Oh, it fell apart. This is part of my issue here, is that these little pastry balls Okay, this is the final product here. I'm actually going to put some powdered sugar on it. Looks more like something you'd get at the fair. All right. So this is it right here. What undoubtedly is exactly what Marie Antoine Careme made. Looks a little different, hopefully tastes the same, but it definitely felt a little more French as I was making this, and hopefully Careme would be proud. But that concludes my Global Citizens project.